What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the great folks at NerdTees, and welcome to the division finals, the East and West finals for the CFL for the 2018 CFL season. It's getting down to the wire. In the semifinal round last week, across the board, I won one and I lost one. Went 1-1 straight up, 1-1 against the spread, and 1-1 on the over-under. Straight up now, we're 54-29 on the season. That's still a clip of 65%. Against the spread, we're 48-35, which is still 58% against the spread. And we're 44-37 with the two pushes on the over-under, which is still 53%. So 3-3 across the board in our picks last week has us 146 up, 101 down with the two pushes this season, 58.63%. Last week, we nailed the West final. We had the Winnipeg Blue Bombers beating Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan. They did that 23-18 to move on to go to Calgary to take on the Stampeders in the West final this week. The East final, not so much. And of course, as is tradition on the internet, when you get something wrong, douchebags the world over show up to tell you about it. I expected that BC Hamilton game to be at least competitive, but very early on in the game, it was shown that it was very much not going to be a competitive football game. And that's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. I almost stopped watching the game around halftime because I was like, this BC's not showing any sign of life here at all. Like, no reason to think like, okay, second half, cool, second half comeback. And I even tweeted it. Like, I'm a firm believer that anything that happens in the first half of a football game can either be duplicated or even improved upon in the second half of a game by either team. And I was like, man, I think they were down 28 or something at half. And I was like, there's just no sign of life here for the Lions. So they laid an egg at the worst possible time. So our Week 23 schedule, our division final schedule looks like this. The Hamilton Tiger Cats travel to Ottawa to take on the Red Blacks in the East final. And the West final sees the Winnipeg Blue Bombers travel to Calgary to take on Bo Levi Mitchell and the Stamps. Of course, before we talk about the games, I will take a second to shout out and pump the tires of my good friends at NerdTees, nerdtees.ca. Use that promo code BWFinest. Going to save you 15% at checkout. Free shipping in Canada on any order over $50, which is a great deal in and of itself. If you're one of my many, many, many American viewers, hey, 2 clicks of a button on nerdtees.ca. Everything is in US prices. You get a great conversion on the US dollar. Today's blend is Ontario Peaches, which is a phenomenon that only Canada truly gets to enjoy. Delicious peach blended flavored tea. Great aroma, great flavor. Pick it up. You're going to love it. nerdtees.ca. Promo code BWFinest. Find yourself something to love or find someone you love something to love. You can do it on nerdtees.ca. All right, here we go, folks. East final, Hamilton Tiger Cats traveling to Ottawa to take on the Red Blacks. Season series here was dominated by Ottawa. They won all 3 matchups. 21-15 early in the season. That game was in Hamilton. Another matchup, this one in Ottawa, 35-31, also for the Red Blacks. And then the most recent matchup, a dominant 30-13 win for Ottawa in Hamilton, and that essentially clinched them the East Division. So in discussing these games, we're going to stick with the key edge matchup that we introduced last week, but with a little bit of a twist. I'm keeping it constricted to just the head-to-head matchups between the teams we're talking about. So for Hamilton, the key edge matchup is going to come from their games against Ottawa only, and vice versa, keeping it within the context of what this actual matchup is. And of course, we're going to stick with a do and a don't for each team. So we're going to start with the visiting Ticats, winners of 1 game in a row, which was the game last week. 4-5 record away from home this season, as of course their game last week was in their own building. The key edge matchup here from the games against Ottawa, and it's going to sound redundant to say it, but Jeremiah Masoli 100% has to outplay Trevor Harris. This is not a situation where you can lose the quarterback matchup but still win the game. It's imperative that Masoli plays better than Harris. And in part, here's where I get that. You know those first 2 head-to-head matchups that were like 1-possession games and really could have gone either way? In those 2 1-possession games, Jeremiah Masoli, plus 125 yards passing to Trevor Harris and plus 3 touchdowns. Jeremiah Masoli outplayed Trevor Harris in both of those games, and what happened? It was a one-possession game that could have gone either way. In that 30-13 blowout loss, blowout loss, essentially it was a blowout loss, 3 possessions. In that loss, he threw for, I believe, less yardage, did not throw a touchdown, only threw for 52% and threw 2 interceptions. So he was badly outplayed in that quarterback matchup by Trevor Harris in that game, and the game was not competitive. So this is a matchup that if Hamilton wants any chance of winning the game, Masoli has to outplay Harris. Also, if you're the Ticats, do control the ground game. Neither one of these run defenses are particularly great. They both gave up on average over 100 yards rushing this season. Alex Green for Hamilton, who got the start and played all of the game last week, coming off a game where he touched the ball 19 times, had 98 all-purpose yards. They need a repeat performance from Alex Green. In fact, they probably need Alex Green to be even better than that if they want to win this game. But if you're the Ticats, don't keep doing the thing. And the thing is penalties. We talked about it last week, but it's brought into so much more stark reality when you talk about the games against Ottawa. Just against Ottawa this season, Hamilton has taken 30 accepted penalties for over 330 yards in terms of just penalty yardage. So you're talking about averaging, I think it's 10 penalties and like $1.15 in penalty yards. So it's not just that you're taking a lot of penalties, you're taking bigger penalties. Against the rest of the CFL this season, Hamilton averaged taking 8 penalties a game, and I believe it was 87 penalty yards. So it's more penalties, it's bigger penalties. You have to stop doing the thing, especially in 2 of these games that were so close. The difference between the loss or maybe even coming up and winning the game could be not shooting yourself in the foot. Red Blacks come into this game riding high, winners of 3 straight games, probably a bad time to have been forced to have to take the bye week by winning the division. 3 straight wins, they're 6-3 at home this season, had a good home season. The key edge matchup here for the Red Blacks head-to-head against the Ticats this season has been their adjustments in the second half. In all 3 of those football games against Hamilton, Ottawa outscored Hamilton in the second half of the football game. In each game individually and cumulatively, in the second half, Ottawa outscored Hamilton 45-19. That's not particularly close. That's an average of 15-6 in each game. So the second half adjustments for the Red Blacks have been crucial in these victories against Hamilton. If you're the Red Blacks, do ride what got you here. And what got them here was high percentage passing from Trevor Harris, a lot of William Powell. Obviously, he was like second, I think, in the CFL in rushing this season, an opportunistic turnover defense, and really great special teams. All of these things have to come together again, but they've come together so consistently for Ottawa this season. It's not going to be a shock if we see it happen again, but they got to keep that going. But if you're the Red Blacks, don't, and I think this is a real key piece of importance here, don't believe the results. It's very easy to look at your results from this season and say, hey, we beat these guys 3 times. Hey, we beat them by 3 possessions last time. Like we mentioned, 2 of those 3 wins over Hamilton were 1-possession games, close games, and as much as anything else could very easily have been the result of Hamilton making mistakes, Hamilton shooting themselves in the foot. If you don't get those same mistakes and they don't shoot themselves in the foot, like you can't just waltz into this game loosey-goosey feeling like, oh, there's no way, cool, Grey Cup, baby. You cannot look ahead. It's worth noting the Red Blacks this season off of bye weeks. They had that weird thing where they were the team that had to take a bye in week 1, so they didn't get their season started until week 2. The other 2 bye weeks they had this season, not only did they lose the next game coming out of the bye, they lost the next game after that. So they lost back-to-back games coming off of both of their bye weeks after that weird week 1 bye. And it is exceedingly tough to beat the same team 4 times in the same season. That's what the Red Blacks would have to do in this game. Beat the same team 4 times. I can't really say I have a particularly great reason for making the pick that I'm about to make, but again, when I take everything into consideration and I just look at Hamilton and I look at Ottawa, and for whatever reason, I don't trust Ottawa. And that's kind of been a prevalent thing for me, I guess, most of the season. There's been multiple instances where I'm just like, okay, this is where Ottawa's going to fall off the rails. So for some reason, I just kind of feel like maybe I'm anti-Ottawa. And if that's the case, I apologize. But Hamilton has done such a great job with the injuries that they've had of just being next man up. Next man up, next man up, next man up. Brandon Banks went out to injury. Boom. Mini Banks had an incredible game last week. Alex Green gets the start at running back. Boom. Had himself a great game. It just feels like it's next man up for Hamilton. I just have a feeling about Hamilton in this one. Maybe I just like the underdogs. Who knows? I'm going to take the Ticats here. It's not a strong lean, but I'm going to take the Ticats. On the line, Ottawa favored by 3.5 points in this game. It's tough to look at that line because it's like, okay, well, if I liked Ottawa to win, I'd probably have to buy the extra half point of juice, which I absolutely hate doing. Obviously, we're going to be on Hamilton plus 3.5 here because we like Hamilton to win the game outright. Total in the game set at 54 points. Two teams were combined 18 and 19 over-under this season, so not really a strong lean one way or the other. I personally capped this at like a high 40, maybe into a low 50, so I feel like there's enough of a buffer there to stay under on it. So we're going to stay under 54 points in the East Final of Hamilton-Ottawa. West Division Final, let's do this. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers traveling to Calgary to take on the Stampeders. Season series here was tied at a game apiece. Calgary with a 13-point victory early in the season, 39-26. That game was at Calgary. Later on in the year, actually just a few weeks ago, I believe it was, Winnipeg with an 8-point victory, 29-21 in Winnipeg. Of course, this game in Calgary. Winnipeg, winners of one game in a row, winning last week in Saskatchewan, 4-5 on the road in the regular season, but they've got that playoff road win, very important for a team's confidence. The key edge matchups, I'm just going to say it up front, the key edge matchups for both of these teams were so crazy, stupid, frustrating to find because they're so ridiculously evenly matched. My key edge matchup for Winnipeg in the head-to-head matchups against Calgary this season was the turnover battle, ? And I say that because Winnipeg did force 5 turnovers in the 2 games against Calgary this season, which is of vital importance for the team in Winnipeg that has scored the most points off of turnovers this season. If you're the Blue Bombers, do feed the beast. Andrew Harris coming off the game last week where he touched the football 21 times, had a $163 in all-purpose yards, scored a touchdown. Obviously, all great things, great numbers for the Blue Bombers offense. And in that game in Week 20 against Calgary, the Blue Bombers' victory, he touched the ball 20 times, put up a $130. You have to feed your best player on offense. Your best player on offense, head and shoulders, is Andrew Harris. But if you're the Blue Bombers, don't lose this game on first down. And it's incredibly easy when you're playing the Calgary Stampeders to lose the football game on first down alone. The Stampeders averaged 7.1 yards per play on first down this season, and they only give up 5.8 on defense on first downs against. That is second and first in the CFL respectively. So it is incredibly easy if you botch first down. That's essentially the football game right there. What I think anyway, Winnipeg needs to do on first down, constrict the playbook a little bit, high percentage plays on first down, get the ball moving, keep the ball moving. Don't get yourself into these second and impossible situations, because if you punt to Calgary, you're really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Speaking of Calgary, your Stampeders, your home team, 1 win consecutively. They won their last time out in order to clinch the West Division. 7-2 at home this season. Very, very strong home team. Again, key edge matchups in the head-to-heads, incredibly frustrating this season. But my key edge matchup for the Stampeders in this head-to-head matchup is pass rush and pass protection? ? And I say that because Calgary did generate 5 sacks on Winnipeg quarterbacks in these 2 games. They only allowed 2. If you're the Stampeders, do clamp down on your run defense. And it's not just the head-to-head matchups with Winnipeg that I say this about. In Calgary's last 5 games, they've given up over 550 yards rushing, over $110 a game. If you give up $110 just in rushing to Andrew Harris and this Winnipeg team, that is really not setting yourself up for success. So that run defense has to clamp down. It's been fairly good this season. In fact, I think it's close to the top of the league. It's been pretty damn good. Has to clamp down. It has not been doing it in the latter part of the season. And that's a couple of games against like BC, a game against Montreal. 3 of those 5 games, they gave up like over 120 yards rushing. So they need to clamp down. And if you're the Stampeders, don't avoid the big plays. And this is what I mean by that. This obviously is talking strictly about the offense. Winnipeg allows the fewest number of 30-plus yard pass plays in the CFL this season, and the second lowest pass efficiency to opposing quarterbacks. In the face of that, Calgary ranks number 1 in the CFL in both of those things. So it would be very convenient to say like, okay, look, close matchup, tight matchup. It's the West Division final. We gotta tighten up, and to use a hockey parlance, grip the sticks. But you can't be afraid to stick with what got you here, and that is a great strength of Calgary's. They can't completely forsake that just because the team on the other side is very good at defending it. I kind of feel a little similarly about this game as I did about the last game. Like, I've kind of been a low-key Winnipeg supporter basically all season. Felt like Winnipeg did not get the respect that it deserved because of the numbers. Like, statistically, they're such a good football team this year, and relatively few people were talking about them. So I've kind of just been a low-key Bomber supporter all season, and I don't think, like, my most prodigious gut, I don't think I trust Calgary in the clutch. Everybody knows how critical I've been of Bo Levi Mitchell all season long. Calgary did lose a game this season coming off of a bye. And granted, I think that was the big injury game. I think Mill pointed that out in the CFL chat. That was a big injury game. So understandable, but, they have lost out of a bye. I don't know. There's something about Calgary in the clutch. I just don't think I can go with it. I've just got this feeling about the Blue Bombers, and I think they're going to do it. I think Winnipeg beats Calgary in Calgary. I'm going to take the Blue Bombers here to win the West Division, go on to the Grey Cup. On the line, Calgary's a 5-point favorite at home. I really think no matter what way you're going in this game, probably a decent idea to hedge your bets here and take Winnipeg +5. I think this is going to be an incredibly tight game one way or the other. Obviously, since we like Calgary to win, we're going to go Winnipeg +5. Total in the game, 52.5 points. I think I'm going to stick under on it again. The two teams are combined 17-20 over-under this season, so a little bit more of a lean towards an under on average anyway. Again, I capped this game at like a high 40, like a 25-24 or 24-23 or something like that, which would stick under. You got a little bit of a buffer there. I think I got to go under again. Let's go under 52.5 points in the West Division final of Winnipeg and Calgary. All right, folks, there you have it. For better or for worse, those are your picks in the East and West Division final. We'll go over them here with you again one more time. East Division final of Hamilton in Ottawa. I like the road Ticats. I like Hamilton to beat Ottawa for the first time this season, break Ottawa's 3-game winning streak against them. I like Hamilton to win that game. We're going to take Hamilton plus the 3.5 points in a game that stays under 54. And in the West Division final of Winnipeg traveling to Calgary, again, I like the underdog here. I'm going to take the Blue Bombers in Calgary to beat the Stampeders. We like Winnipeg +5 against the spread in a game that stays under 52.5. There you go, folks. East and West Division final picks are in the books. If you disagree, fantastic. But remember, don't be a dick about it. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the great folks at Nerd Tees. Enjoy the games on Sunday. I'm not working. My butt's going to be planted on that chair watching the East and West Division finals. Again, the NFL almost does not exist until those games are over. Enjoy the East and West Division finals. We're going to see you again next time you see me talking the CFL. It's for the Grey Cup.